Well, Caitlin Clark may have been the most popular name at the women's Final Four this year in Dallas, but she also could have finished second to Cynt Marshall, who was everywhere in Dallas for the women's Final Four. Cynt Marshall is the CEO of the Dallas Mavs and a new friend of 24 Hours Nothing But Net. Hi, Cynt.
Hey, sister, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I'm so pleased to have your energy and just to have you with us on 24 Hours Nothing But Net. This live stream is such an important part of what we do to raise awareness and raise money for Special Olympics. So thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love what you're doing. I'm excited about this, and I'm just honored that you pulled me into it so I can be a part of this from now on.
Well, I'm counting on you because you have incredible energy. You have such an incredible story to tell. If anybody hasn't gotten the book, you've been chosen by Cynt Marshall, my friend. This is a fantastic read. My whole family has it. I think we've bought 5 books between the Mulligans and the Antonellis. And we're so grateful that you wrote your story. Cynt, I don't even know where to start with your story. Where would you start when you're trying to explain what this is?
Okay, so what this is, so first of all, thank you for all the support and for being one of my new best friends. I'm so glad we got a chance to hang out a few weeks ago. Where I will begin is just what the book is about. It started out just being a book to kind of share my cancer story and to share the journal that I kept when I was going through chemotherapy. And it turned out to be something that really actually kind of tells my story. And it's a story about how God and great people always show up in my life, and a story about how I think we've all been chosen for the adversity and for the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly things that happen in our lives, and that we need each other. Like you need me and I need you, and we've all been chosen to be there for each other, and that we can, we're equipped to handle the things that come into our life, the challenges that come into our lives. So it kind of starts at the beginning of my story, and it chronicles my cancer story, but also things that happened in my life, which was not the plan, but that's just how it worked out. That's how the book worked out.
And it's God's plan, the way things roll out, right?
Yes,
I mean, like you said, we've been chosen. My husband and I have always believed that is the case for us with our 3 boys and our middle son, Frankie, who has Down syndrome. He's a young man living with Down syndrome and living a full life, a college grad, living independently with supports, got a couple of jobs. And, we just did the best we could, trying to make the best decisions we could in the situations that we found ourselves in, and highs and lows around those situations. And I think you've done the same thing, and you've chronicled it so well in your book.
Yes, you were chosen for your story. I mean, you and your husband were chosen to be his parents. And, he's playing a unique role in society, and you two are playing, and your other 2 sons. Your whole family. I mean, you've been chosen to kind of go through this and to do what you're doing. I mean, look how, I know you wouldn't brag about it because you just called to do it, but look at how you are really advancing the cause and putting a bright light on the Special Olympics and what can happen. And so I think that's what is happening in my life. Raised in a public housing project, went through a lot. My mom went through domestic violence. We did as well. I watched violence. I watched some things happen, but I also had a good childhood because my mom was chosen to be my mom. And she put a math book in one hand and a Bible in the other, and just told me to keep my head in these 2 books and I could get through anything. And it turned out that when I ended up with cancer and I called her, she said, "You got this. I mean, you have been chosen for this, and this is for God's glory, and you will tell this story one day." And it was brutal, but you know what? I got through it. And I got through it and this is what the agents who, the publishers and the agents who were involved in the book, they said, we want to tell more than the cancer story, because if you look at your life growing up, you look at some of the things you experienced. And then, of course, I had 4 second trimester miscarriages, a daughter who died at 6 months old. And then, of course, the journey of my 4 adopted kids, husband with brain damage who they never said would walk again. I mean, so as I'm going through all of this and talking to them about it, they just said, we've got to tell the whole story, because you just haven't been chosen to battle cancer. There were some things you were chosen for prior to that equipped you to be able to, approach your cancer battle with the positive attitude and the hope and the faith that you brought to it. And so they were right. And so even in your situation, I mean, the things that you've gone through, the things your family has gone through, it's all for good. It's all for God's goodness and to share it to the world to make things better.
We don't share our stories for empathy or sympathy. We share them because we know that we can help someone else. And that's the whole reason why you told your story in your book, while I'm doing what I'm doing for Special Olympics. They parallel so many things that are similar in our lives. Our stories are different. The situations that have happened in our lives might be a little bit different, but they really are similar in so many ways. And
Yes.
I just admire you so much. When I'm, like, here's Cynt Marshall, like, your reputation before you meet you is amazing. And then you meet you and it doesn't live up to your reputation. It's just incredible. You and I had a sit down fireside chat at the House of Blues in Dallas as an event for the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame to create awareness. And you just absolutely killed it. And I came away from that knowing that it's okay to be a disruptor, because that was the word that I use sometimes in my life about some of the things that we're trying to get done in our life, or how we're trying to make the world a little bit better for other people. You definitely are a disruptor. I love that.
It's good disruption. And so when I left you that morning, I knew I had a new friend for the cause of disruption, because it's good disruption. I mean, it's not bad. You have to disrupt things. You have to kind of shake up the status quo, because sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And they don't know that there is, sunshine and the rainbow on the other side of what some would consider misfortune or a tragedy or a challenge. It's all for good. And so we disrupt things. We give people hope. We give people faith, but we have to kind of like shake it up a little bit to get people's attention. So I love being disruptive. So we're going to give a new positive connotation to being disruptive. It reminds me of Congressman John Lewis, when he talked about getting into trouble, but good and necessary trouble. So this is kind of good and necessary disruption to kind of move us forward.
This is, and that's exactly what we're doing, and why I was so drawn to you. It's such an endearing friendship to have with you, because you mean so much to me on so many different levels, with everything that you have been through, what you've accomplished, what you've done in your career. I mean, we've talked about some of your adversity. Talk about your career a little bit, because that's just absolutely amazing too.
Oh yes, my career has been amazing. So, I worked for AT&T for 36 years, fresh out of college, 21 years old. I only had 2 criteria when I got out of college. I said, I want the job that pays me the most money, because I had 13 job offers. So this is a long time ago. I said, I want a job that pays me the most money because I want to help my family get out of poverty. And then I want a job where I could be the boss, a job where I can supervise people. And it wasn't about supervising people or leading people. It was really about serving. So I wanted a job where I could serve people. And I had an amazing 36-year career. And actually, in a male-dominated environment like I'm in right now, because, I was raised in kind of technology, and just had some great mentors and sponsors, and, dealt with things there as well, being the only woman often, or the only person of color. I mean, so you just kind of deal with it, and you blaze trails and try to make things better for other people. But I had a phenomenal career, retired, started my own consulting business, doing great. And then I get this call out of nowhere from Mark Cuban, who I honestly did not know at the time. Some people don't believe that, but I didn't. Okay. Raising 4 kids and doing my thing. And so I didn't, but he called to ask me to, help lead the business side of basketball. And I didn't know anything about basketball, but he was looking for a leader, and he wasn't trying to make history. He wasn't trying to appoint the first, African-American female CEO of an NBA team. He was trying to make a difference for his people. We just hit it off from the beginning, developed a great relationship. He was very genuine about wanting to create a great place to work for his employees. And that was 5 years ago. I said yes, and I really said yes, because after talking to him, 2 women also talked to me and encouraged me to take this position. And I was kind of scared about it because, Debbie, I didn't know a thing about the business of basketball. I worked in telecommunications and communication and entertainment for 36 years, but didn't know anything about the business of basketball. I was a big fan, but didn't know the business. And he said, don't worry about that. I'll teach you that. Others will teach you that. And that's true. All of my colleagues just jumped right in from, the other teams. And it's just been great. And I'm still learning. Even, the time I spent with you in that whole 4 days, my goodness, I'm still learning about, women's basketball. And so it's exciting. So I've had a career change and I'm loving it.
It's so exciting to hear you say all that. But I want you to tell the story that you told that morning about when Mark Cuban called you and how you handled the call and what you said to him.
Well, when he called me, first of all, I was on the phone with my clients. And so my phone is blowing up, and I actually handed my husband the phone because I thought it was one of my kids. I had 2 in college at the time. I thought it was one of my kids looking for money. And I would just tell them, if you need something, text me. So I handed the phone to my husband. I said, one of the kids need money, take care of it. And then he came back a minute or so later and said, this dude doesn't need any money. It's Mark Cuban. So I said, okay, don't judge me. I said, who is that? Because I truly didn't know him. So he's trying to explain who he is. And then he had my son call me to explain who he is. So anyway, I ended up calling him back, and he wanted to meet with me at 2 o'clock. And I told him I couldn't meet with him at 2 o'clock because I had a mammogram scheduled. And that I had learned the hard way. What happens when you don't take care of your medical business? Because honestly, when I got colon cancer, it was because I had put off a colonoscopy and I just didn't do what I needed to do. And so he wasn't concerned about that at all. He said, I'll come to you. I'll meet you wherever you want to meet. And I said, well, no, you don't need to come out here. I'll come and see you. And I got a chance to meet with him that evening, and it was great. But I did tell him I needed to pray about it. I told them that, I just needed to see what the Lord had to say about it, because I was kind of skeptical, because I just truly didn't know what was going on. But I ended up saying yes to it. And I didn't know him, but I trusted him.
I just love that whole story. That's just phenomenal. Most people know who Mark Cuban is, but you're so honest about it. It's just great.
Well, what was great too? I'm sorry, Debbie. What was great is I didn't know him and he didn't know me. So it wasn't like he was trying to, phone a friend to help him out in a crisis. My name kept coming up, I guess, as a proven leader, someone who had, helped AT&T, lead a transformation effort to get on Fortune's 100 Best Places to Work list for the first time. And so he did his homework. And so he was really trying to make a difference for his employees. And he didn't care that I didn't know him. He thought it was pretty funny. So he didn't care that I didn't know him.
5 years in on a job you weren't so sure you wanted to take, and you said you didn't know the business of basketball, but Mark Cuban didn't hire you for the X and O's and the strategies of the game. What he did was hired a leader for culture and relationship building. That's what you're known for, Cynt. How's it going?
I think it's going well. Someone just wrote an article, I think a few weeks ago, and they talked about our success. And we focused a lot on diversity, equity, and inclusion for the business case, the business case reasons that if we can have, more women at the table, because there weren't any women in permanent leadership positions at the table when I got here. And so by the end of our 100-day plan, my team was 50% women. And at that time, 47% people of color. It's 50-50 on both counts now. But we focused on just diversifying the tables, putting a vision in place, a set of values that are actually on the wall behind me: character, respect, authenticity, fairness, teamwork, and safety, both physical and emotional safety. And so we've had phenomenal success just in terms of, revenue growth. So all of our business metrics look great. And it's fortunate for me. I also came at a time when Luca and Jalen Brunson and others also came. So our team was starting to really take off. So everything just kind of lined up. But the folks here at the Dallas Mavericks are wonderful. Mark just, he was involved with us, and so we laid out that vision and a set of values and set of foundation, and all of our business results are exponentially better. And so now we're at that 5-year mark to say, okay, kind of what's the next phase and where do we go from here? So I am pretty proud of this team. I got a lot of credit for it. Obviously, I didn't do it by myself. I was blessed to get that call from Mark and blessed to be able to lead this team. But these folks in this building, and I say this building because I'm in my office at work right now, they're wonderful. I mean, we made some changes. Obviously, we had to make some changes and some leadership changes. And just, having women and different people at the table, pouring in, being innovative and creative. You can't do this without all of us. And so we recognize that. So we're having some success, and it's cool. It's good. It's good.
It's cool because you're cool. And, when you start talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, it brings me right to my space with my son, Frankie, right?
Yes.
And how important diversity, equity, and inclusion is for our family. And we see it through a different lens. People have a different definition of it, and it's okay. That's what you're talking about, bringing people together to make it the world better for everyone. And in our little way in our community, we're trying to do that. This passion and purpose of mine matches the passion and purpose of a lot of the things that you have done. And I'm just so grateful that you had the time for us to be on 24 Hours Nothing But Net, that you have been able to support us. And most importantly, I'm just glad to make a new friend, because you are awesome. And I am thrilled. And if you have not gotten this, please, you got to check this out. You have to check out this book. It's phenomenal. And I'm so grateful, Cynt, that you spent the time with us. Thank you for helping Special Olympics.
I love you, sister. I love what you're doing. I love your whole focus there, and just whatever we can do at the Mavs or whatever I can do personally. You know, we've already offered our support, but we want to offer more support. So love you and good luck with this year.
Well, I love you too. And I'm so glad we're friends. And thank you for sharing your incredible story with us on 24 Hours Nothing But Net.
Awesome. Thanks, sister.